Everybody hear me okay? Thank you once again for all the panelists to make the time to join us on this very interesting discussion, I hope. I'm going to kind of look at this in different parts. So we're going to talk about open innovation and what it means, and then we're going to look at the challenges around open innovation, and perhaps also spend a little time on how we actually implement it within the organization. So to start things off, I was looking up on my smartphone this morning, and I was trying to find a good example of open innovation. And I came across quite a few good examples. I saw that Lego, I guess everybody is familiar with Lego. Lego has actually got a project which is called Lego Ideas, and they involve the community in actually defining their next product. There was another example which was of a pharmaceutical company called Lilly, which is actually opening up their innovations to other pharma companies. So it is actually an enterprise which is actually kind of collaborating or innovating along with other similar enterprises, peer kind of companies, right? And the list goes on. You have a company like GE, which is actually, co-innovating along with universities. You have Procter and Gamble, which is, got a very active partner kind of a network along with whom they innovate. So the thing which struck me was actually two things. One was I was doing all of this on my smartphone, right? Because the moment the platform was opened up, it kind of unleashed innovation in various sectors, whether it was healthcare, fintech, or anything else, right? So that was one thing which struck me, and the other thing which struck me was the sheer diversity in terms of the players in the innovation system, so to say. Whether it is the community, whether it is the peer networks, and so on, right? What exactly is open innovation? I mean, is this something like, the tech industry always likes to put the old wine into the new bottle and give it a new name? Or is it something which has been around? Are we the only generation which is like so collaborative in our innovation?
The term was coined about 25 years ago. Professor Chesber from Harvard, and now he is with Berkeley, and he coined this term. When did first open innovation would have happened in the world?
Right.
And I went back almost 600 years when the first open innovation documented happened when the Medici family, one of the most powerful bankers in Italy, when they bought the city of Florence around 14th century. I think it was Lorenzo Medici, who was the third generation, wanted to create the most beautiful city in the world. Okay, now how he would do that? So to cut it short, he invited people from all over the world to come and build the world's most beautiful city. Art, culture, science, everything. And today we have Florence. I'm sure people agree is definitely, I think it's the most beautiful city, but someone might disagree. But yeah, definitely. So what made for, now we have a term for it called the Medici effect. Okay, so Medici effect is, I think, the first documented term for open innovation. What does it mean? And we all practice that. It means that human by nature are, we belong to open network. We interact, we are social animals, all right? And by interacting with a lot of people, even the idea of firm, the company, all of us working in firm, a firm basic idea itself is open innovation, for which Ronald Coase in 30s got his first Nobel Prize in economics, where he said, what exactly is a firm and why do firm exist?
Today we may frame it as open innovation, thanks to Henry Chesbrough, but I think it is implicit in many of our endeavors. Even when we talk about enterprises, I mean, if you take the technology firms, who is not collaborating with universities? Who is not collaborating with researchers? Though we may frame it as open innovation, we know that we organizations have certain limitations in terms of their the investments they can make in R&D and the output they can generate through these R&D efforts. So they have to rely on ecosystem partners to contribute and to generate value. So yeah, terms may be there, but I think, as you said, 600 years ago, certainly, nobody thought that this was open innovation, right?
Innovation is everywhere today. I mean, without innovation, things will start failing faster. If one of the CEOs were to ask his exec, why is that our revenue numbers are down today? So the answer would be, our competitors are doing it faster, cheaper, and better. So how is that they're doing it faster, cheaper, and better? They're innovating, and they're doing things differently, and they're innovating openly. So that's the importance of open innovation today.
There's a lot of availability of the platform as well, where the ecosystem is building on top of it, which is more innovative today. Like just over the lunch, we were discussing about UPI, correct? UPI is a platform which Government of India has built, innovated on it. If you look at the number of innovation happening over there, that kind of channels and back channels into allowing a lot of people, or the Play Store ecosystem, which
Right.
Android or Apple has kind of come up. So I think there's a lot more those kind of platforms creation also across the world, which is kind of helping speed up. That's why the time of pace of innovation, and then that's why we are saying open innovation everywhere. People coming together and making it happen.
Interesting is there's been a kind of a perfect storm, in the sense computing power, resources which are available, diversity, the different players in the ecosystem. What does it actually do for innovation? And the maxim is that diversity actually is good for innovation, right? And we are seeing that in terms of the number of players that firms or enterprises are incorporated into their innovation, and perhaps objective in itself, right? But the diversity of players and so on, is that a challenge?
I think it's a part of our the way we live, the way we think. There's one example that comes to me about diversity and its outcome of diversity is, I think it was again late 90s, and Titan was trying to launch a watch to compete with the Swiss guys, and they were not getting anywhere because that meant taking on the biggest names in the world, and Titan was one Indian company. Xerxes Desai, whom I think many of you would hear of, he was one of the most innovative CEOs that we've ever seen. He called us and he said that we're going to launch a world watch, and he explained his concept. That was very interesting. He says, India is very good in engineering. Japan is very good in movement. France is very good in design. And he named a couple of, he says, I'm going to bring the talent from all these places and create a world right here in Hosur, which is the world's largest watch factory, incidentally, and compete with the Swiss. We were not very sure what he meant. Then he gave us the rationale, which is the biological rationale. He says, do you know the world's most beautiful and successful people are the mixed race people?
Sir, on the point on diversity, yes, the pro is the advantage is rich pollination of ideas. Yes, and happens, when diversity now it is a conscious effort that every organization puts in to bring diversity at every level, because it brings richness in everything, right from conversation to product design to innovation. Yes, it brings a challenge of coordinating and orchestrating these divergent views towards the convergence, right? Otherwise, as you said, innovative ideas can become just science projects without a focused outcome. So convergence and goal clarity is something, needs to be moderated by somebody like you.
Is how do you manage conflict of interest when you start working with somebody who's not your size and perhaps has a different objective, right? A startup could have a different objective. So two things. One is greed, because everybody wants the best deal for themselves. How do you manage that? And the second is in terms of intellectual property, because maybe in the Flipkart context, you may have deep enough pockets to buy them out, but that doesn't always work, right? So how do you manage those kind of aspects?
Yeah, I think challenging times. So to start with, I think the very first thing is when you are putting together multiple creative people in a room, it's going to be more chaos. It is not going to be a function of process. It is function of more creativity there, and it's more chaos over there. I think what my experience have been is like very good clarity in the role with each of the team or the team member plays in the entire process. And very clear objectives so that both of them can really or it could be 2 or it could be n. Very good clarity in terms of the objectives, very measurable objectives in terms of it, and a very clear understanding of what the who will have what part of the pie at the end. Like I was giving you the example of the startup. One of the biggest fear we had while working with them was while they were a startup, they were building an innovative product for us. What happens? They go belly down next year. We have a business to run,
Right.
and we are kind of running behind it. So all of those expect probably safeguarding it, your company's interest as well, your organization expects, and making sure that the other party understand and solve for it. So very clear measurable objectives with very clear understanding of who owns. Specifically when you are looking for certain startups to come together and solving for a very niche problem, there were multiple mechanisms we look at it, whether it could be a joint IP, where we own a certain part of it, and whether the area of governance can be in the form and shape that basically we individually own the pieces which we own. And finally we decided that they are doing the more creative or the more core work than what we were doing. So it has to be more logical than anything else. As long as you keep it very logical and keep the team as logical level, I think it solves for the problem.
Right. Yeah.
Two factors here. One is, of course, the appreciation of the technology innovation, what the startup brings in by the larger organization. So whatever I'm doing, has it been appreciated? And then also the application. So whether it's being applied correctly, finding the right fit of whatever I have innovated, is there a right application from the larger company? So that these two things are really critical in success of open innovation.